Hi there, welcome back to my channel Ongoing Mainstream with Linux. Today we're going to be showing you how to install and configure a program created by a developer named Seoul, which allows you to transfer Android files to your Linux operating system. My Android device is a Samsung Stellar, and my Linux operating system is Linux Mint 14. So here is the URL address where you will find the instructions step by step on how to do this. So for step 1, we're going to have to clone Seoul's repository. She has her programs stored on GitHub, which is a website that allows programmers to store their programs for free. And we'll need to bring up a terminal, and how we can do that is just simply going into the menu and clicking on the terminal emulator. I already have one brought up, which I've minimized, and it's right here. This is the command that we are going to be typing in to the terminal. And if we go to Seoul's site by clicking on that link, we'll bring up her site on GitHub, and this is the command we are going to be using. It says git clone git colon 2 backslashes github.com/soul /aafm.git. So this is the name of her programs, set of programs in this directory, and we are going to be copying that whole set of programs to our home directory under our username, and it's going to be creating a new directory called applications and a subdirectory called AAFM. So let's copy that. So I'm highlighting that and I'm clicking on copy. Then I bring up the terminal and I'm going to paste that. Now, if you don't have Git installed, you're going to have an error message telling you it's not installed. So in that error message, it will give you instructions on how to install Git, and you just simply follow the instructions by copying the command, and you will have Git installed. I already have Git installed, so I won't be getting the error message, so I'm going to hit enter, and it's done. And I will check using Nautilus. That's the name of the file system on Linux Mint. And if I go to my home directory under my username, you're going to have a different name other than my name for your username if you're using Linux Mint or some other Linux operating system. And then under that is going to be the applications directory, and underneath that is a subdirectory called AAFM. And if we click into AAFM, we will see a whole set of files. Okay, so let's close out of here and let's go back to our instructions. So we're done with that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to download the Android Software Development Kit. That's what SDK stands for, and the link to that is here. So if we click on this link, we'll get to the Android website, and we're going to be selecting an ADT bundle. And I have a 64-bit Linux computer, so this is what I'm going to be downloading. So you just simply click on this and then it starts downloading it. So you follow the instructions here. Yes, I've agreed to the terms and conditions, and then you just click on this download button and it will start downloading it. And I've already downloaded it, so if I click on here, you can see that I have it downloaded here. See how it matches right here? So I'm going to show all my downloads. This is the only one I have. And I want to extract that file from my downloads folder into the applications folder that was created when I cloned Seoul's directory. And I can do the extraction one of two ways, either using my mouse to do it or by using the terminal. So this is the command you would use by using the terminal. You'd be using unzip space name of the zip file space -d and then the path where you'd be storing the information. It would be /home/my username / the applications folder. But I'm going to do it using Nautilus, so I'm going to go to places here, go to my name, then I'm going to go to downloads, and I am going to, okay, before I do that, let's go back to my name, let's go to applications, and we'll notice that under applications we only see one folder. After we're done extracting, we should see two folders. So if we go to downloads, let's highlight that zip file and let's right click and then extract to applications. Let's click on that and then we will click on extract. So it should finish extracting in a few seconds. And if we go back to my directory and we go to applications, we will see more folders. And that's the Android Software Development Kit. So here it is. So AAFM and the ADT bundle. So let's close out of that. And let's go to the next set of instructions. Number 4 is test ADB to make sure it's installed correctly. So I'm going to bring up the terminal again. And I'm going to type ADB at the command line, and if I scroll above, I will see I have Android Debug Bridge version 1.0.29 installed, so that means I know it's been installed correctly. A different version is showing here. Now, if it didn't work when you extracted it, you will get an error message saying ADB hasn't been installed, so it will tell you to type in a command sudo apt-get install ADB and hit enter, and then it will install it if it didn't install it properly when you extracted it. So let's move on to the next command. What we're going to do is we need to look up the vendor ID of our Android device. My Android device is a Samsung device, and we're going to be looking for the vendor ID by typing in this command at the prompt for the terminal. It's LSUSB. So before you type LSUSB, you need to make sure that your Android device is plugged into your USB. So I'm going to plug that in. And Banshee Media Player comes up because it recognizes my Android device as a CD. So I'm going to close this, and then the next thing I'm going to do is type LSUSB. At the prompt, so I'm going to type LSUSB. After typing in that command, I will notice for the line that says Samsung Electronics, the phone, here is a number here, 04E8, and then there's a colon after it and another number there. This first set of digits is the actual vendor ID number, and we're going to be using it to configure that using our configuration file, which is the next step. And we will go to step 6, where we will need to add a rule to a file called Android Rules in this directory. So it's at the /etc/udev.rules.d directory. So you can find that either by doing a directory or navigating to the directory through the command prompt here, or it's probably much easier to take a look at Places. I put in my name, File System, and then we're going to go to ETC. Then we're going to go to UDEV. Then we're going to go to Rules D. Well, notice there is no Android rules file here, so we're going to have to create one. And if we go to my directory, I already created one. And this is what I named it because it followed the same naming convention as the other ones that existed. So in order to create that, I use gedit. I'll go to the menu here, go to accessories, and go into gedit. And I can click on File, Save As, and then navigate to my name and go to Android Rules here, and that's the name of the file. So I can save over it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the information that I found by typing in the LSUSB command, and I'm going to type in a line that looks like this. And it's easier to see by taking a look at the file that I already created. This is the line you're going to be typing into your Android Rules file. You're going to be typing in subsystem in capital letters, 2 equal signs, a quote, USB, end quote, comma, space, sysfs in capital letters, in parentheses, ID, and then a capital V, and then ENDOR, end parentheses, 2 equal signs, and then within the quotes you're going to be typing in the vendor ID, which you just looked up. Mine was 04E8, so I'm going to be entering that here, and then you put in a comma, space, and then mode in capital letters, equal sign, and then this number 0666 enclosed by quotes. After you're done typing in this line, let's go ahead and save it to your home directory. So click on File, Save As, and make sure that you name the file according to the naming convention within the rules.d folder. In mine, all the rules started with the number 70. You might have a different number for yours, so type in that number, then a dash, then Android.rules, then click on Save. I already saved mine, so I'm not going to save it again. The next thing we're going to do is, since it's stored on the home directory, we need to move that file back to the, or not back to, but we need to move it to the higher level directory where it can be executed by Linux properly. So let's go to the terminal emulator once again. Let's do a directory, and we can see the file here, 70-Android rules, and we are going to move that by typing in sudo space mv space 70-Android .rules /etc /udeb /rules.d name of the file again, 70-Android rules. Then we're going to hit enter, type in our password, and if we do a directory, notice how it's gone. Now if we take a look through Nautilus and go to the file system and we go to etc udev rules.d, here it is. So the next thing we're going to do after we've moved it is change the file permissions on the udev rules. So we're going to type in this command, sudo chmod a+r, and then we're going to type in the directory the Android rules is stored in. So it's /etc udev /rules.d / name of the file. Okay, and now let's close out of this terminal and we'll move on to step 8, which is enable debug mode on your Android device. Every Android device is going to be slightly different. The way I do it on mine is by going to settings, developer options, and then I'm going to be checking USB debugging to make sure it's on. Alright, so now that I've finished checking USB debugging on my Android device, I'm ready to plug it in. If I plug that in to the USB outlet on my HP Pavilion, I will see that it will recognize it as a CD and it will bring up automatically Banshee Media Player because that's how it's been configured on Linux Mint. So I'm going to close this. Minimize this window, and I see Verizon right here, the icon, recognizing my Android device. Now I need to do an additional step, step 9. I need to test the configuration rule that I just set for my Android device by going into the terminal and typing in this command, adb space devices. So let's go back to the terminal and type in adb space devices. And we know that it's attached properly because we received a number here. And the next thing we're going to have to do is step 10, which is type in a Python command to bring up the Adb File Manager window. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the terminal once again, type in Python space, and this time we're going to be executing a command that's stored within that applications folder where we cloned Seoul's program. So let's type in \home, my username. You'll be typing in your username instead of mine here, and then applications \AAFM \SRC \AAFM-GUI.py. And if we hit enter, notice how it brings up the Adb File Manager. On the left hand side we'll see the notebook. On the left hand side we'll see the HP Pavilion files and directories. On the right hand side we will see the SD card and the directories stored in it on my Android device. Through the terminal we can see how it's executing these commands. Now if you want to just stop right here and not do anything further, this is how you would bring up this Android Adb File Manager every time you plug in your USB. You would type in this command in white. Now if you want to automate that process and not have to remember this command every time you plug in your Android device to your USB, stick around and I'll show you the steps to do more configuration. So let us close these windows and let's move on to step 11. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a shell script. In Linux, a script is just a fancy file that allows you to store commands that can be executed through the terminal. So now to create the Python script, we're going to go into gedit. We're going to go to menu, accessories, gedit. We're going to click on file, save as, and under my name we're going to type in Pythonadb, and then we're going to click on save. I already have one that exists, so I'm just going to replace it. You're not going to have one that exists on your computer yet, so you will simply save it. So the next thing we're going to do to make this a shell script is make sure that this appears on the first line. So let's copy this. It's enclosed in the quotes. So starting with the pound sign and ending with the H is what we're going to be copying. Then we're going to paste it here. And then let's hit return and move on to the second line. And we're going to take what we typed into the terminal earlier, that command Python and this file name aafm-gui.py. We're going to copy that and paste that here. And let's go into File, Save. So now we've saved it as a script. I'm going to minimize this terminal. That was step 12, actually storing the command from step 10 into that script. And the next thing we're going to do is make sure that this Python ADB shell script is executable. In order to do that, let's go to Places, My Username, and where the file name is located. So let's highlight the file and then right-click with the mouse, go to Properties, go to Permissions, and then make sure that this is clicked. Allow this file to run as a program. Then click on Close. Now we're going to move this into the root level directory of the Linux operating system. And this is the command we're going to be using. You can either use copy or move. It really doesn't matter. If you use copy, then you'll have an extra file stored in your username directory. If you're going to use move, then you won't have it stored there. So I'm going to take that out. Actually, delete this. Before I delete that, I'm going to do a directory. I can see the file name here, Python ADB. That's where my script is stored. So let's go ahead and move it. So let's type sudo space mv for move, Python ADB space backslash usr backslash bin backslash Python ADB. It has to be named exactly how you see the file name in front of you. So let's hit enter, type in the password, and if I do a directory, notice how the Python ADB file no longer shows up there. Now we can go to Nautilus once again and go to the file system, go to usr bin, and if we scroll down to the P's, here it is. So we know it's in the right directory, and the last step we're going to do is we're going to issue the command into an area where on the menu that allows us to put in a default setting for removable devices. So let's go to Settings, Removable Devices and Media, Multimedia. Remember earlier it brought up Banshee when I plugged in my USB for my Android device. Well, here we're going to replace Banshee with the directory that the script is stored in. So I'm just going to copy that. So in both places, for the audio CDs and portable music players, I stored that command, and I'm going to click on close. Now I'm going to minimize this window, and I'm going to plug in my Android device, and yay, it brings up the Adb File Manager without me having to type in a command. If I want to take one of the files from my camera and transfer it to my Linux desktop, I'll just highlight it on the right hand side of this file manager and drag the file to my desktop. And here's the file. It's a JPEG file. So that's how you do it. If you have any questions on this tutorial and on the set of instructions, feel free to leave a comment. Hopefully this helped you as far as configuring your Linux Mint operating system to work with your Android device. Thanks for watching.